June 5, 1942, 10:26 in the morning. Admiral Nagumo's flagship, the Imperial Japanese Navy carrier Akagi, took her final hit from an SPD Dauntless dive bomber. What Imperial Navy records never disclosed was the carrier's true role in a secret operation beyond Pearl Harbor, a mission so classified that even today Japanese archives remain sealed. For 76 years, this 855-foot Leviathan lay hidden beneath 17,000 feet of Pacific water, taking her secrets with her. That changed in October 2019, when the research vessel Petrel's ROV cameras captured something that changed everything we thought we knew about Japan's naval strategy. The wreck revealed modifications that do not appear in any known blueprint. What was the Akagi really designed to carry, and why did Japan bury the truth deeper than the ship itself? The answer lies in what the Petrel's remotely operated vehicle discovered in the Akagi's lower compartments. They were sealed chambers that do not appear in any known carrier blueprint, chambers built with reinforced bulkheads and independent ventilation systems. According to declassified OSS documents obtained in 2019, these modifications were completed in secret during the Akagi's 1941 refit. The chambers were designed to carry biological weapons, specifically weaponized plague bacteria developed by Unit 731. The Akagi was not just a carrier, she was Imperial Japan's delivery system for biological warfare against the American mainland. The evidence is undeniable. Remotely operated vehicle footage shows specialized compartments with lead-lined walls and hermetic seals. These are not standard features on any aircraft carrier of the era. Naval architects who analyzed the footage confirmed these modifications would serve no conventional military purpose. What they would do, however, is contain hazardous biological material safely, even in combat conditions. When we cross-reference this discovery with recently declassified intelligence reports, a disturbing picture emerges. In late 1940, Japanese scientists from Unit 731, the notorious Biological Warfare Research Division, visited the Yokosuka Naval Yard, where the Akagi was undergoing modifications. The official reason? Consultation on improved medical facilities. The real purpose? Designing containment systems for weaponized pathogens that could survive naval combat conditions. The scale of this operation was unprecedented. The sealed compartments could house up to 200 specialized containers of biological agents, enough to target every major port on America's west coast. Japanese military planners calculated that a coordinated release of these pathogens could potentially incapacitate critical U.S. infrastructure, paving the way for a mainland invasion that would have changed the course of the Pacific War. To understand the full scope of this revelation, we need to trace the timeline of Japan's biological weapons program and how the Akagi became its maritime delivery system. The origins date back to 1937, when Imperial Japan established Unit 731 in occupied Manchuria. Under the clinical direction of Lieutenant General Shiro Ishii, this facility conducted horrific human experimentation to develop biological weapons. By 1940, they had successfully weaponized plague, anthrax, and cholera. But they faced a critical challenge: delivery systems. Traditional aircraft could only carry small quantities of biological agents, and their effectiveness was limited by altitude and dispersion patterns. What Japan needed was a mobile platform that could position large quantities of biological weapons close to enemy territory without detection. That is where the Akagi entered the equation. In spring 1941, the Akagi entered dry dock at Yokosuka Naval Yard for what was officially described as routine maintenance and modernization. This was not unusual. Aircraft carrier technology was evolving rapidly, and updates were common. What was not common was the unprecedented security surrounding certain sections of the ship during this period. Workers were compartmentalized, with specialized teams brought in from Unit 731 Technical Division. These teams worked exclusively at night, and Imperial Marines enforced strict perimeter security. According to a Japanese naval engineer who defected in 1949, the modifications included specialized ventilation systems, hermetically sealed bulkheads, and lead-lined storage compartments, all consistent with biological containment protocols. By October 1941, these secret modifications were complete, though they never appeared on any official blueprint. The most damning evidence comes from intercepted communications between Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto and the leadership of Unit 731. In a coded message dated November 2, 1941, Yamamoto confirmed that the special cargo facilities are operational and ready for deployment. This coincided precisely with the Akagi preparations for the Pearl Harbor operation. The timing was deliberate. The attack on Pearl Harbor was not just a strike against America's Pacific Fleet. It was positioning for a biological attack that would follow if conventional warfare failed to secure Japanese objectives. Historical records show that in November 1941, during what was officially recorded as a routine fuel resupply, the Akagi took on special medical supplies under extraordinary security. These supplies were loaded directly into the modified compartments by personnel wearing protective equipment, which was unusual for handling standard medical materials. The morning of June 4, 1942, marked the beginning of the Battle of Midway. That confrontation would determine the course of the Pacific War and, unknowingly to most participants, prevent a biological catastrophe. By 10:20 in the morning on June 5th, American dive bombers had located the Japanese carrier force. Lieutenant Dick Best and his squadron of SBD Dauntless dive bombers began their attack run on the Akagi. What happened next was recorded in meticulous detail by both American and Japanese sources, though neither side fully understood the true stakes. At 10:26 in the morning, Lieutenant Best's 1,000-pound bomb penetrated the Akagi's flight deck, detonating among fueled and armed aircraft. The initial explosion triggered a catastrophic chain reaction that ripped through the carrier's midsection. What conventional history missed was that, at 10:27 in the morning, the fires reached the specially modified compartments below decks. Seaman Hiroshi Takahashi, who survived the sinking, later reported unusual activity around certain restricted compartments, even as the ship was burning. Specialized teams in protective gear were attempting to secure what he described as the special cargo amid the chaos. These were not desperate sailors trying to save ammunition or fuel. These were Unit 731 personnel following containment protocols for biological agents. By 10:28 in the morning, secondary explosions had reached those sealed biological chambers. Ironically, the intensity of the fires served a critical function. They completely incinerated the biological agents, preventing their release into the environment. Had the ship simply taken water without burning, the consequences could have been catastrophic, with intact biological containers potentially washing ashore on Pacific Islands or even the American coast. Admiral Nagumo abandoned ship at approximately 10:45 in the morning, taking with him the knowledge of what the Akagi truly carried. He was among the select few who understood the full scope of the operation. In his final communications from the Akagi, Nagumo sent a coded message to Imperial headquarters that translated to the words, "Special cargo secured. No contamination risk." This seemingly innocuous message confirmed that the biological weapons had been destroyed in the fires rather than released into the ocean. The Akagi remained afloat, burning, until approximately 5:10 in the morning on June 6th, when she finally slipped beneath the waves, taking her deadly secret to the ocean floor. In the aftermath of Midway, Imperial Japan initiated one of the most comprehensive cover-ups in military history. The loss of 4 fleet carriers was a catastrophic blow to Japan's naval power, but the potential exposure of their biological warfare program posed an even greater risk, one that could have united the international community against Japan in unprecedented ways. Within days of the sinking of the Akagi, Imperial Navy headquarters ordered the destruction of all records relating to the carrier's 1941 modifications. Engineers, shipyard workers, and naval personnel who had knowledge of the specialized compartments were reassigned to distant posts or frontline combat units, where many would perish before war's end. Official histories were rewritten to eliminate any mention of the Akagi's special modifications or cargo. Unit 731's involvement with naval operations was purged from all documentation. As American forces began gaining ground across the Pacific, the biological weapons facilities in Manchuria were hastily dismantled, with critical evidence destroyed and personnel scattered. Lieutenant General Ishii, the architect of Japan's biological weapons program, ordered the execution of remaining test subjects and the incineration of research records. The cover-up extended beyond the war. In 1946, during the occupation, American authorities discovered partial evidence of Japan's biological warfare program. In a controversial decision, General Douglas MacArthur granted immunity to key Unit 731 scientists in exchange for their data on biological weapons. This treaty of silence effectively buried the truth about the Akagi, and similar vessels potentially modified for biological warfare. For decades, the Japanese government maintained official ignorance about Unit 731 and its naval operations. Families of servicemen who had worked on the specialized compartments were told their relatives died in conventional combat. Survivors who attempted to speak about what they had seen were discredited or silenced through political pressure. Perhaps most disturbing are the unanswered questions this discovery raises. If the Akagi carried biological weapons, what other vessels in the Imperial fleet were similarly modified? Historical records show that the carriers Kaga and Soryu underwent refits during the same period as the Akagi. Did they also contain sealed biological compartments? And what of Japan's submarine fleet, which successfully launched aircraft attacks on the American mainland? Were some of these vessels also equipped to deliver biological weapons? For 76 years, the truth remained buried 17,000 feet below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Then, on October 20th, 2019, the research vessel Petrel located the wreckage of the Imperial Japanese Navy carrier Akagi on the seafloor near Midway Atoll. The discovery itself was a remarkable achievement in deep-sea exploration. Using advanced autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with sonar, the Petrel team first identified a debris field consistent with a large carrier. Follow-up exploration with remotely operated vehicles, spelled ROV, confirmed the wreck's identity as the Akagi. What the Petrel team did not expect to find were structural anomalies that defied conventional naval architecture. ROV cameras revealed compartments with specialized reinforcement and unusual sealing mechanisms that had partially survived the sinking. These modifications appeared nowhere in published blueprints of the Akagi or any other Japanese carrier of the era. Initial speculation focused on enhanced ammunition storage or fuel systems, but forensic analysis told a different story. Metallurgical examination of the compartment materials showed compositions consistent with biological containment facilities, specifically alloys resistant to corrosive decontamination chemicals. The discovery triggered the release of previously classified Office of Strategic Services files under the Freedom of Information Act. The Office of Strategic Services was the precursor to the CIA, and those records showed American intelligence had gathered fragmentary evidence of Japan's naval biological weapons program as early as 1943. Much of that information had been suppressed as part of post-war agreements. The most compelling confirmation came from biological weapons specialists who analyzed the structure and positioning of the specialized compartments. Dr. Elena Nakamura, a leading authority on World War II-era biological weapons development, concluded that these compartments match precisely the containment requirements for weaponized plague bacteria. They feature independent ventilation, hermetic sealing, and corrosion-resistant materials, all unnecessary for conventional munitions, but essential for maintaining viable biological agents in a maritime environment. This wreck discovery vindicated the accounts of several intelligence officers who had tried to raise alarms about Japan's biological warfare capacity during the war. Lieutenant Commander James Forrestal of Naval Intelligence had submitted reports in 1943 suggesting that captured Japanese naval documents hinted at specialized disease delivery systems integrated into carrier operations. His reports were dismissed as speculative and buried in classified archives until now. The revelation of the Akagi's true purpose forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about the Pacific War. Had the Battle of Midway ended differently? Had the Akagi survived? The alternative timeline is chilling. Military historians now believe that Japan's strategic plan included biological attacks against West Coast ports if conventional warfare failed to force American surrender. San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle were all potential targets. Epidemiological models suggest that a coordinated release of weaponized plague in these population centers could have caused casualties in the hundreds of thousands, potentially more than the atomic bombs that eventually ended the war. The discovery has profound implications for international biological weapons treaties. It demonstrates that naval vessels were being adapted for biological warfare deployment decades before such capabilities were widely believed to exist. This finding has prompted calls for enhanced inspection protocols for naval vessels under the Biological Weapons Convention. The Akagi revelation also raises questions about historical justice. Survivors of Japanese biological warfare in China have long sought acknowledgement of their suffering. The physical evidence from the Akagi wreck provides irrefutable proof of Japan's advanced biological weapons program, strengthening these historical claims. Perhaps most significant is what this discovery tells us about the ongoing investigation of sunken warships worldwide. The ocean depths preserve secrets that land-based archives can't contain. As deep-sea exploration technology advances, other wrecks may yield similar revelations that reshape our understanding of naval warfare and clandestine military operations. The Akagi's legacy is no longer just that of an aircraft carrier that launched planes against Pearl Harbor and met its end at Midway. It now stands as evidence of how close the world came to witnessing biological warfare on an unprecedented scale. That fate was averted by the courage of a few American pilots, who had no idea of the true horror their bombs had prevented. The wreck of the Imperial Japanese Navy ship Akagi has finally revealed Japan's darkest secret, a biological warfare program that could have changed the course of the Pacific War. This discovery is just one of many ocean mysteries being uncovered through modern exploration. At Ocean Attacks, we continue investigating the hidden histories beneath the waves. Subscribe now to join us as we dive deeper into naval secrets governments hoped would never resurface. What will we find next?